Welcome back, everybody, to Zlatan's Fight Picks. Today we will do the recap for November 4th, Almeida versus Lewis. I've got it directly on the board. We'll go over what we did. I thought we did great, and the predictions were pretty much bang on, almost 100%. Well, the predictions were, yeah, they were, I mean, depending on how you bet it, there was actual warnings on the one fight that did lose. I specifically had a warning. I did not have the guts to actually reverse that prediction just because of the talent of the individual, but I did have a warning up in the Bonfim fight. As you see up here, he's my most confident pick, but he's also my parlay buster warning because of the abilities of Dalby, the unprovenness of Bonfim at that level of competition, Dalby being very tough and durable, um, but also 39 years old. I didn't have the guts to flip the pick and pick the upset. And when watching the first round, it was the correct decision. And unfortunately, Bonfim didn't get the submission or the finish in the first round. And of course, like I said in the first video, once it gets past the first round, then we got to start to sweat. And actually, the first half of the second round, Bonfim was still winning, and then all of a sudden things started to change. Dalby looked like a man on a mission. I've actually never seen Dalby look so good. At 39 years old, I've never seen him look as powerful and determined and unstoppable as he did in the second half of that second round. And Bonfim being unproven and never been into the, well, maybe he has been, but never been in the deep waters with high level competition, started to fade and fold. Maybe he wasn't ready with the stamina, with the cardio end of it. Maybe he thought it was going to be easy, like most of his other fights. Who knows? He's very talented. He's very tough. But the onslaught of Dalby was something he's never seen before, and he ended up stopping Bonfim. And this is the only mistake. I actually had a parlay where I had all of them, and and I was there like, well, I only have because I bet Almeida and Lois both ways. I thought, well, I only got Bonfim to go. It's a lock pretty much, right? I'm there like, I know he's a parlay buster. Yes, but realistically, Bonfim has proven that he's very talented. So I thought, you know what, the odds are pretty good. Nevertheless, that's the one that stopped it. It kind of reminded me of my bet with when it was Adesanya and Strickland. I had gotten all 12 fights right. Going into it, I only had bet Strickland in one of the parlays. Didn't bet it both ways like I did here. Confident that the heavy favorite of Adesanya is still going to pull it off, and he lost. So it was disappointing. It was very similar in effect to this because this was the last fight I had to get through because at that point I had parlays on both sides of it. It didn't matter. Nevertheless, individual bets, they were all correct. So really, if you bet it individually and if you bet any other fights, I mean, there was parlays where I did not include Bonfim and I did not include Nascimento because parlay buster is, I was worried about him to begin with. I said, not 100% sold. He should win. He looks very talented. Everything looks great. And he could very much go out there and finish this guy in the first round like everybody else. Or he doesn't. So, in which case things will go very wrong. Which exactly what happened. And here, with Nascimento, I had him as a parlay buster just because I thought Nascimento would win. It should play out to the same event, like the first fight they had. But the fact is that Mays has made improvements and he's been training with the right people. And you know what? Throughout the fight, he lost that fight. It was close. It wasn't super dominated by Nascimento, but Nascimento won the fight. But I mean, he was dangerous throughout the fight, and he's very tough. He's very durable, hard to get out. He's always got that one-shot knockout power. He was dangerous from the beginning to the end. and he did make huge improvements, which is what I was worried about. Anyways, that parlay buster didn't come through, which was a good thing. This parlay buster did come through. So, and again, my main concern was that. Now, moving on to second most favorite. And, you know, I mean, watching the first two rounds, I mean, Fakhretdinov obviously won the first two rounds. It was kind of how I expected it to play out. Zalesky's always a danger. First two rounds went to Fakhretdinov. Fakhretdinov didn't have as much ground control as I thought he would. Zalesky's defense did hold up. He's always had good defense, takedown defense, get up ability. He always had that, but it was just hard to tell if he was going to have that much. If it was going to be good enough for this guy, because he's probably the next level up in the takedowns and everything else. And watching the fight, I mean, in fact, it ended up being a draw, and I don't dispute the fact that it could be a draw. Fakhretdinov did win the first two rounds. I mean, Zalesky was winning the third round. It's the fact that he hit Fakhretdinov in the liver, and it was such a dominant spot that two of the judges gave him a 10-8. Otherwise, it would not have been a draw. Fakhretdinov still would have pulled this off. But in his, you know, not in his defense, but to compliment him, he did get hit with a really bad body shot that would finish most guys, and he kind of just struggled through it, so the fight didn't get stopped. So he is tough, but he did show weaknesses in his striking game. Even though he seemed like he had good stamina, he seemed very crisp and powerful in the first round, and in the second round he seemed powerful but very floppy and sloppy. So this definitely is something he's got to work on. I don't know if it's a cardio thing. I don't know if it's his style of fighting. It was hard to tell, but he didn't look as crisp, and he started to fade in the second round. And he still won the second round, even though he was looking like that. He was looking a little sloppy. But in the third round, Zalesky was winning the round. It was still a close round, and he managed to hit him with a really good body shot, and he almost finished the fight. But nevertheless, he survived. It was a draw. Again, it's a win in our column just because it didn't affect anything. Well, it wasn't a loss, so it's a win. Moving on, Petrino, you know, expected him high confidence, very powerful. I thought he'd probably maybe have a submission, but he ended up, you know, just knocking the guy out. And Bukowskis, you know, he's a pretty good fighter. I like the way he fights. There's a lot of guys he's going to be able to outvolume, outstrike, and, you know, be technically better and win. But Petrino won that fight as expected. Barolo didn't even go to the ground. I guess he wasn't able to take the guy to the ground until the end. I think the first round he was stuffed. Second round he was stuffed. I think the third round he ended up taking him to the ground. And that's because Abus was just fading, and everyone is expecting him to fade, and he faded. But although he did last quite long, and he ended up going into the third round, and yeah, I mean, Barolo did win the fight, and I don't know. I mean, I can hardly wait to see Barolo further up the chain. We're looking. He called out Duplessis. If he fights Duplessis, I can hardly wait to fade Barolo. Let's put it that way. So even though I like the guy, I just don't think he's top 5. Maybe squeezing the top 10, but not top 5. Not with what he's got at the moment. But anyways, he was a high confidence pick. He came through. That was not a problem. Nascimento, mid-range confidence. He was a potential parlay buster just because of the dangers of Mays and his improvements. But we still expected him to win at a high rate. He won, and all these guys were the favorites anyway. You know, if I was smart enough to actually fade these two guys on one of the parlays, well, actually, it wouldn't have mattered because this guy would have messed it up anyway because he wouldn't have come through. You can't predict it every which way possibly, but anyways, or you just have a parlay, which actually I did, where I did not include these two guys because they were the parlay busters, and I just did not want to have them in there, and it was a small bet, but it actually paid out. So this guy, you know, was out of there, and this guy was out of there, and it worked out. But you can't bet it every which way with every precaution. It just doesn't work like that. But as an individual bets, things were very profitable because we did hit some big, well, not reasonable underdogs, not huge underdogs. This was a huge underdog, but realistically, there was only three underdogs that won. Well, two actual underdogs and one pretty much even money. So we predicted two of them. We only didn't predict one of them. So it was only one underdog that we missed. The other two, which were underdogs, quotation marks, because they started off as underdogs, we hit. We called both those fights. So there was only one fight that we missed. Moving on, Mora. I mean, absolute dominant performance. She was set up with a much smaller fighter, somebody who doesn't have as much skills. She looked giant compared to Ruiz. I mean, it was just a setup fight to make this girl look good. She did look good. I mean, who knows how high her ceiling is? She is big for the division. It's hard to see how far she can go. I mean, she wasn't really tested in this, I mean, minus 725 favorite. Like I said, when you get to minus 650, minus 725 is not even worth putting them in there. As a matter of fact, if you did it just based on that and you took these out, you would have hit every other fight if you actually had a parlay on all the fights. Every other fight would have been a winning fight. This would have been a draw. It wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, so anyways, Mora looked dominated a much smaller opponent. Doesn't tell you anything about it. It's great for the Brazilian crowd, but really doesn't tell you very much about her. She looked great, very powerful, very strong on the ground. But again, I mean, look who she was fighting. And the girl was tiny, so tiny. And probably not UFC level. Now, moving on. DXC, I mean, here, we expected him to win mid-level, grind it out, a boring decision. I mean, that's how he's been winning. I guess as long as you're winning. I mean, if you can win using that style, then, I mean, who's going to blame you? He does have, pretty good strikes. Obviously, he's found better paths to victory instead of striking on the feet. Anyways, grinded out a 3-round victory as expected. Hill, I don't know why everybody was so high on Gomes. He's the biggest underdog that we hit. I don't know why everyone's so high on Gomes. She's talented. She's strong. I don't think she's very big for the division. I don't think she's a very good technical striker. She's got a really powerful punch, but she's got good cardio. But at what level is she at? She's also very young, so she hasn't developed. I don't know why Hill was an underdog. That was ridiculous. Anyways, mid-level confidence. Well, all the women's fights, no matter how much I think they're gonna win, they're mid-level confidence at best. Mid-level confidence for a women's fight is high-level confidence in my board. So, nevertheless, she won. It was a clear. She won all the 3 rounds. She's tough. She's durable. She's technical. She's getting better on the ground. She's getting better in the clinches. She's older. Didn't make a difference. And to Hill, I think she's just gotten better. I don't think hasn't faded. Her technical skills have gotten better. I don't know if her physical skills are better. I think that with age, of course. I mean, normally for normal people they fade. I don't know if she's actually faded. They stayed the same. I mean, look at Dalby. Dalby looked better than he's ever looked. So yeah, good to him. I mean, he says he wants the title run. I mean, give this guy, somebody in the top 10. After that performance, I'd like to see him in the top, just anybody in the top 10. I'd just like to see it. It would be amazing to see. Moving on, Brenner, dominated the fight, knocked the other guy out. It was a catch weight. The other guy had really short notice. I really liked the other, what was his name? It was not Fernandez. It was, it's a Polish or Ukrainian name. What's his name? Oops, what's his name? Well, we're going to call him by his first name. I remember that was the only thing I can actually remember. Nope, it wasn't that. He changed. Oh, Kanan Kuchewski. Let's call him Kanan. Kanan, very exciting fighter. Short notice fight. Brenner, I mean, this guy has surprised me. This is the first time I've bet on Brenner. So I bet against him in the other two fights, and it's costing me money. And now I'm just betting on him. So we're just getting that out of the way. So the guy is really surprised me at how well he's done. I mean, this is not a great example of a high level fight yet, but he should get a top 15 guy right away. The guy's good. See where his ceiling is. Don't wait too long. I mean, half his ability is how well he could take a punch, and that fades quickly, especially if you're taking a lot of punches. So give this guy a top 15 guy as soon as possible. I think he needs to be tested. He's proven himself that he's beaten decent level competition already. I mean, not in this case because this guy's a newcomer too. Even though this guy actually, I can hardly wait to see him fight. I think he's going to do much better in his next fight, and which is good because I think he's a lot better than what he showed, and I think he's going to be a little bit of a dog in the next one, and providing it's the right opponent, Kanan should, probably win. He's pretty tough. Moving on, Petrosyan Vera fight got canceled. Yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll find if it's rescheduled. Almeida Lewis. I mean, one of the things I said about Almeida as well is what happens after first round, second round, and Lewis is still there. I mean, I think this took the winds out of the sails of Almeida and the prospects of him being champion. I don't think he can be champion. He's really got to fight the right heavyweight with the right body type. Having a big guy that's barrel-chested and very powerful, I mean, it was just hard for him to wrap his hands around him and choke him. I mean, it was very difficult. And at any moment, this big barrel-chested, round, powerful guy would be sweaty and, slip out when needed and not to get the choke finished. So Almeida was just literally mounting this guy, just sitting there, not knowing what to do with this big beast of a barrel-chested, round, human mass of muscle. He just couldn't do it. And then I don't know if it was a size thing or an ability thing or a Lewis getting better at defending it thing. I don't know. I mean, Almeida was taking him to the ground as soon as he could. He did not want to be standing with Lewis. It was definitely position over submission, and it was a very boring fight. I think I stopped watching it multiple times and did whatever else, and they're like, Almeida's gonna win this. Obviously, Lewis is not landing. He's still getting him to the ground. I mean, he was desperately getting him to the ground. He was on his knees chasing Lewis. If he didn't get the first takedown, he was on his knees, still pursuing one leg. And then and to his credit, he got him down. There was only a couple times that Lewis did defend the takedowns. Almeida did get a lot of times a second and third try. Anyways, it was a very boring fight. Good for Lewis. Just didn't get the shot off to knock out Almeida. Almeida was, he's good. He's good enough not to get knocked out, and he's good enough to get Lewis down on the ground and control him and win the fight. But definitely, as much as I'd like to say that he's not top three and he's not going to be able to, win the belt, he's the type of guy that will do better against a different body type. I think Almeida will do better against Jones because of the shape of Jones. And so when he actually does get Jones in a choking position, I think with his arms and just how he can wrap around that body type, he'll be more effective. So as much as I'd like to say, he's not going to beat these guys because he couldn't beat, he beat Lewis, but not finish Lewis in a dominant fashion. Given the right body type, I think his submissions will work better. So it was just hard to, just with the shape of Lewis, with the chokes he was trying, it was just hard for him to finish it. He ended up dominating the fight anyways. He was on top. He didn't do very much. Lewis hardly got hit. But yeah, anyways. Almeida was the pick. We did have it both ways. Almeida won. we were well, out of this one was a push, but if you look at it, 11 fights, one loss, one wrong, so 10 out of 11 was not a loss because this was canceled. So if you don't count that, it's out of 10, we got 9 out of 10. So 9 out of 10 is at 90%. It was good. I mean, it's always good to be perfect, right? But this guy, Parlay Buster, I warned everybody. I warned myself, and so it was the Parlay Buster for sure. I mean, at minus 650. It was, everybody had this guy in parlay. I thank God I had him not in all of them, but he was in a lot of them. And at minus 650, you're like, how can you discount the fact that this guy is talented? Because he is talented. But Dalby, I can't say enough. I've never seen him look so good. I hope they give him a top 15 or a top 10. He got top 10. Just give it to him. He's 39 years old. What are we waiting for? You're not developing this guy. It's now. So if he can get in the top 10, I'd love to see it. It actually, I'm not a fan of Dalby, but I like Dalby. So it was a good win for him. Nevertheless, thank you very much for joining me today. Today, actually. I'm used to doing these videos at night. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm, especially if you like this program. Hit subscribe if you want to be notified for the next prediction video. Feel free to share this video. That helps with the algorithm. Please leave a comment. Just whatever. Just saying, you like the show. Actually, don't say if you don't like the show. Just if you like the show, mention if these picks helped you with any of your bets. And also tomorrow we will get out the next video. It's actually ready. I've actually got my picks ready for the UFC 295. Can you believe it? And surprisingly enough, and this scares me. What scares me is how easy it was for me to pick the winners. Now, I don't know why that was, but maybe I'm seeing something, or maybe I'm just totally wrong. But nevertheless, it was easy, which scares me. So it'll be out tomorrow. So till then, thank you very much for joining me. We'll see you guys soon.